How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Reginald the Kid video. Today I just wanted to do a sort of an update on myself, as well as some of the stuff that's been going on in the game. For those who haven't had the chance to really explore the content recently, there have been some changes and some fixes that have dropped as of this last update. And the reason why I say if you haven't been able to play is that I haven't been able to play lately, and that's because I'm currently in the middle of a move. As of right now, I've currently been staying in Northern California. I was living in Southern California before, so now I am back up north with family. Sort of a weird time for it all to really go down because of the whole shelter-in-place thing, but it's really the responsible thing to do to stay inside, and I wanted to get here as soon as possible in order to kind of avoid from being locked out of the new places that I'm trying to set myself up in. So there's that. Also, with that being said, I just recently was able to plug in all my stuff. I did end up having to take a week-long break, which was pretty rough. And as this video goes out, I'm currently still in the process of figuring out my configuration. So hopefully once those details get sorted out, I will be back online and doing weekly streams as per the usual. But in the meantime, let's go over these updates. So as you can see right here, there were a lot of actual world drops that came from Season of Dawn and Season of Undying that did not have seasonal mod slots attached to them. So you can see those right here. If you are not familiar with Red Moon Phantom, Mimetic Savior, and Thorium Halt, I believe those were the PlayStation exclusive armor sets that were re-released when Armor 2.0 came out. So it's good to see that those will now be compatible with the Season of Undying mods, as well as the Season of Dawn, as well as these armor sets over here. Dead End Cure, Retrograde, Hyro Camo, Road Complex, all of these are going to be compatible with the Season of Undying and Season of Dawn and Season of Worthy armor mods. So all the stuff that pertains to the Charged with Light bonuses are going to be usable on these sets, and all of the ones that have to do with Warmind cells, etc. That's going to be your jam right here. Unfortunately, there's no news as to whether we're going to get any sort of mod compatibility for exotics with seasonal mods. I'm personally hoping that they add that in sometime soon, but if not, we're just gonna keep on trucking. And there's a whole bunch of sets that are gonna be using these mods too, as well as some of the engram changes that made it so that powerful drops would actually drop with a higher base stat roll, which was an amazing change. And I've been seeing a definitive uptick in the amount of armor that I'm keeping rather than sharding, which has been pretty nice. Going down here to other fixes, they did fix some of the stuff for the season pass, as well as the legendary lost sector. I think the big one here is that the newest exotic, Raiju's Harness, which made it so that you could deactivate the Whirlwind Super early, I believe, was actually giving folks infinite super, and it was pretty insane, to say the least. It was deactivated within the first week of the new season dropping, and so it was kind of crazy to have a new exotic come out and immediately not be able to use it. So thankfully they have fixed the bug that was going on with it and Whirlwind Guard. I believe there might still be some bugginess with the Arc Strider subclass, if I'm not mistaken. I'll do I'll do a fact check in post, and I'll go ahead and dub back over this if it's not broken anymore. But as far as I know right now, this is the only fix that has been really issued that tackled the issue surrounding the Arc Strider super this past season so far. Then if you've seen the Kamikakes video where he uses a bow with the Wish Ender, fixed an issue with the Titan Season Pass arms ornament that would block first person view. If you're familiar with Maul's Maulers from D1, you'll probably know what this is all about. But essentially, if you were aiming down sights with a bow with this Season Pass ornament, it would actually block your line of sight. And the reason why I bring up the Maul's Maulers is because it did the same exact thing, but with the last word. Once upon a time, back when the Taken King dropped, there was an exclusive strike drop that was for Titans that had a huge blade on the right arm, or on the left arm actually, yeah, that would completely obscure your line of sight when you were trying to fire from the hip. So thankfully this has been fixed. I think they just made it so that it's see-through, but I have still yet to earn it, so I'll have more on that, and others will probably have more on that later on. Probably just comment on it when they get their hands on it. But yeah, the Season Pass SMG and shotgun were not dropping Warmind cells when they had the ornament equipped. Now they are, which is great because the Warmind cells are incredibly good mods. They're incredibly good assets to any sort of damage dealing loadout, and I'm glad that they have fixed that, as well as fixing an issue with Sentinel Titans being able to extend their super by suppressing themselves, which, I mean, come on. Like, what? That's got to be pretty wacky. Probably something in the code that shipped without them noticing. I don't think they really retouch them that often, so I think some of the interactions might have been altered when they went in and started tinkering with some things here and there. It's still nothing on whether the Ward of Light is going to, or the Ward of Dawn is going to be dropping its 3 orbs on cast the way it's supposed to. Hopefully we're going to be seeing that in the next hotfix or patch. But as of right now, if you are using the bubble, you are not dropping orbs for your friends. Big sad, but personally it makes me kind of happy because if ever you're playing Lockdown and you're up against a team of 4 Sentinel Titans, you know what I mean. Fixed an issue where players were not getting the correct amount of planetary materials from bunker upgrades. This is a big one because of the fact that there is a bunker upgrade for each bunker that allows you to utilize Rasputin's frames in order to receive planetary materials from a chest that would just kind of pop up. It would be in the corner of the room when you're talking to Rasputin. If you just look around, you'll find the little frame guarding a box. Open it up, and before this patch came out, you would only get one measly planetary material. So thankfully they have fixed this, making it giving you more avenues to attain planetary materials rather than having to farm them manually, which is always pretty nice, especially considering that you know, a lot of our upgrade materials, like enhancements, not enhancement cores, but the infusion fuel, it's totally skipping my brain right now, but that stuff costs planetary materials, as well as like legendary shards, glimmer, etc. All parts of the economy that would be a lot harder to attain if you weren't able to get planetary materials from alternate means. So thankfully, this is another avenue to kind of bolster your savings. But yeah, aside from the fixes in 2.8.0.2, we're also continuing to investigate disconnects, crashes, and error codes being reported since 2.8.0 was released. Currently, they're seeing elevated disconnects from the tower on all platforms, but disconnects from other activities seems PC specific. The fix they deployed has appeared to resolve the crashes affecting Gambit, but didn't help with other disconnects. We've made additional attempts at fixing disconnects that haven't resulted in a decline in error codes, and are continuing to work on new fixes for elevated beaver, beetle, anteater, and rabbit errors. They'll give you more information as soon as they can. And this one is a pretty huge one, especially for folks who are on PC like myself. A lot of the issues pertaining tower loading times last season were due to batch loading, in which basically a queue would wait. When you launch for the tower, a queue would wait for a certain amount of people to join in, and then it would load you all into the tower at the same time. I'm thinking that with this patch, there was something with the 2.8.0 patch, there was something that was sort of missed along the way in terms of trying to revert it back, or even if they tried to revert it back or tried to add to the system that was already in place, or modify the system that was already in place rather than reverting the changes altogether, meaning that the disconnects from the tower are different in nature than the ones that other folks are seeing from PC, from other activities specifically. Now, when talking about the other PC specific, disconnects and stuff like that, I'm talking about Trials of Osiris, I'm talking about comp, I'm talking about quick play, I'm talking about strikes, I'm talking about nightfalls, I'm talking about any match made activity in which you have to load into a different instance with a couple of other people, and you would get error coded out. And a lot of folks have been very, very disgruntled about the marked increase in beaver, beetle, anteater, and rabbit errors. With that being said, they did fix crashes that were affecting Gambit, but considering those were crashes and not outright error codes or disconnects that are server side, I'm thinking that the crashes that were affecting Gambit were of a different nature than the ones that we're seeing with the other playlists right now. And if I had to give a guess, and a very lightly educated guess, as I'm not a developer nor do I claim to be, some of the stuff that I've heard about the server structure that is currently in place with Bungie and Destiny, the game as we know it, includes the fact that with the drop of Season of Worthy, knowing that Trials of Osiris is going to drop, one of the changes that they implemented was making it so that when you log on to Steam, now instead of being their more direct hybrid peer-to-peer system through Bungie themselves, you're now connecting to Steam, and then Steam's servers are communicating to each other in a sort of like dedicated server light. Put a little TM on that because I don't have a complete and utter understanding of how it works, and there are plenty of other smarter people that you could probably find on Reddit or elsewhere that could enlighten you on this topic. But from my understanding, it is now a lot harder to find your IP when connecting to match-made activities, making it that much harder for bad players, malicious players, really, out in the world to target you and try to kick you offline with a DDoS or denial of service. And so with those changes being implemented, we are seeing that there are some growing pains associated with that, considering that before there was a more direct connection in terms of when you're connecting to a game, you're connecting to, you know, just the players that you're playing against, or just the players that you're playing with, and receiving some help from Bungie's in-house servers in order to calculate, well, really like a lot of the physics of the game. And you can find the details of how they structured, how like all the computations are handled. Really early on in the Destiny 2's news cycle, I believe there was a lot of work done to kind of shed light on the changes that they're trying to implement. So if you wanted to get more information about that, I'll see if I can find the GDC talk that they did back before D2 launched. I'll go ahead and link that in the description box below. But that should shed some light as to how the system used to work. And just looking at the complexity of that system and having to, well, and not having to, but deciding to put an additional layer onto that network, I'm sure is what's causing a lot of these error codes. I myself have suffered through a ton of beaver errors just in the past couple of days of trying to get my thumb skill back and really get back into playing. And it's kind of, it's not kind of frustrating, it's really frustrating. And in some regards, a lot of folks feel that it is 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of deal, where yeah, it's a little bit rarer to see folks getting DDoSed and stuff like that, but with these crashes and stuff, like it feels as though the game itself is kind of DDoSing you in a way. So hopefully they'll be able to sort that out sometime soon, or at the very least give us some sort of concrete answer as to why these things are happening. But as of yet, that is all that we know about these changes and why these error codes are showing up, at least to the best of my knowledge. Hopefully we'll have more word from the developers themselves, but the best we can do is stay tuned, and anytime you see a unique crash that you haven't seen anywhere else before, you know, I highly recommend that you hit up the Bungie help forums and shed some light about it there. But with that being said, let's move on to the Twitch rewards. So if you don't know, you can get free loot from linking your Twitch Prime account, and this is really useful to all the folks that have Twitch Prime and are new light players and haven't had the chance to collect these exotics before. I believe the last Twitch Prime award was Syros, which is incredibly meta right now. This time around it's a Prometheus lens, which is a very fun weapon to use, particularly with the catalyst. And we are seeing that there is going to be some interactions with some of the Warmind Cell mods and solar splash damage. You can go ahead and click through to Error's channel to see more on that, but I believe Prometheus lens is going to be one of the exotics that are going to be compatible with that. So if you're looking for an evergreen loadout to use for creating Warmind cells and being able to use Warmind cells in order to bolster your DPS, Prometheus lens may be an option that is viable for you and might be something that you would want to use in the future. But yeah, with that all being said, I believe that is all of the high ticket, like just urgent ticket items that was being covered for this week at Bungie. yeah, that should be it. I mean, the rest of it, I'd always recommend checking out the movies of the week. There's a lot of creative folks in our community, and I urge you to check out their work because it's really awesome. But yeah, aside from that, thank you so much for tuning in. There'll be more updates soon in the future. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get this video up, considering all of the news and conditions that are out about the global pandemic that's happening right now. But hopefully you guys stay safe, stay healthy. Please remember to wash your hands profusely and maintain a 6-foot distance around yourself and people who you are not self-quarantining with. So family members are fine, or at least family members that you live with are fine. Significant others that you live with are fine. Pets are fine. But anyone that you don't currently live with, I urge you to please keep a 6-foot distance between you and them. Wash your hands, keep from touching your face after touching other things out in the world, especially if you hadn't washed your hands yet. Yeah, and stay hydrated, definitely. This coronavirus is no joke, and it's something that we are all dealing with, and we will get through it together, and we all need to do our part. But yeah, didn't mean to get too preachy or morbid there, but yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you wanted to keep up with me, you can feel free to find me on any of the socials down below. That would be Twitter at ReginLad, Instagram at ReginLadTheKidYT, or on Twitch as ReginLadTheKid. I will try to get my stream back up and running sometime within the next 2 weeks, but I can't really promise anything. So in the meantime, these videos are kind of all that I have right now. But regardless of whether this is your 5th video or 1st video, you know, all of that other stuff just kind of falls by the wayside, because at the end of the day, I'm just so very grateful that you chose to come and spend your time with me here. You could be watching literally anything else in this time of introspection and lock-in, but you're here, and I'm really thankful for that. So thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, may my scrubbery lead to your victory. Have a good one.